Where am I? There we are.
Where's Crater Lake? Oh my God. Oh my goodness. Sorry. Now you're seeing my underground bunker instead. Ooh. Oh no. Crater Lake.
Now I know you have a refrigerator.
Yeah. It's scary. Why?
I think we'll just crack on.
It didn't enable. It didn't. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll fix this in a second here.
All right. So I'll go through the do's and don'ts. Be nice, respectful, constructive in the interactive YouTube chat and any other chats you see this in. Don't post anything adult content, rude, offensive, so on. Don't post anything or promote anything. That's for us to do, not for you. And don't spam post the same thing again and again. We understand you might have the same question posted again, but if you do that, you get moved to the bottom of the list. It's first come, first served. And harassment of any kind is not tolerated at all, and you will be banned from here and other places. So you have to be warned, and especially have a good time. Let's get to it.
Indeed. Yes. Hi, Simon.
So, hello.
I almost said hi, Scott, because Scott's not here.
Scott's not here today.
Hi, Scott.
Scott's dealing with tornadoes apparently and things like that, storms or something. So hopefully he's in good stead. Let's introduce myself. So, my name is Simon Lightfoot, Flutter community leader and CTO here at Dev Angels London, and you can get me on Twitter at Dev Angels London. I was nearly said Scott. Randall, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, skip over Scott there. So, I'm Randall Schwartz. I am a Dart and Flutter Google developer expert, which means I have been vetted by the powers that be that say I can talk to you, represent Dart and Flutter to y'all. And I spend a lot of my time over the last 5 years answering questions on various places like Discord and Slack and Reddit and Facebook and instant mail and telegrams, smoke signals, all everywhere basically. And people can ask questions. I'm there. You know that if you've been in any of those.
You're gonna get the Morse code telegram out. I'm like,
exactly right. Semaphores. There'll be some semaphores. Like, okay, you want to move this left into that data.
Sometimes it's really hard sometimes because you do get those questions that are just like, how does one do this? And it's like,
yeah,
depends on so many other things. Like it's. These things are always so complicated, so it's like really hard to answer those.
I can type the word depends extremely fast now because that is the answer on a lot of people's questions. Then they go, depends on what? And I go, way more than you said. Right. way more than you said. There's like, it's like often people are asking opinions, this versus the other. And it's like, well, but that depends on what the application is, because they both have strong points, they both have weak points. So until I know what your goal is, I can't tell you which of those two solutions might be the best for your particular goal. And but people don't understand. They just want a solution. They just want, a football team to root for, that sort of thing. They just want a thing so they can join the right tribe. And it's not about that. It's about weighing out your options every single time.
I suppose it's also quite good that we've got a conversation going here, right? So if anyone's watching and you're live watching, then you can interact with us, and we can help you answer those questions. So
yes, and that means that if you're in the live chat today, hello everybody that's in the chat, if you put Q: in front of a question, we will get to it in due time, in the order that they're posted, unless you repost it. If you repost it, it comes off the top of the list and down at the bottom of the list, put down at the bottom of the list. So don't do that. Don't ask the same thing over and over again. We have seen it. We I promise I see everything that has a Q on it. Oh, there's a couple right now. All right. So so they get marked, but sometimes we don't answer it for up to an hour sometimes. So just hang on.
It depends on how we are on the current topics.
Yeah, it's literally true though. It can be an hour from the time somebody asked to the time we answer it, and I've seen that before. Don't just have patience. We'll get to them.
Yeah, we will also be doing a little bit of live coding as well. So we're going to continue where we were last week because people seem to like that. And talking about which, we have a guest from last week. John, come to the stage.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for joining us.
Good. Well, thanks for having me. Yeah.
He keeps following me into all these question places.
We just
I also want to say thank you to John on the YouTube channel for his help on the Medium. He's been helping us out on sorting out some of the Medium stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, we got a few more in the pipeline, I think. So I gotta jump on those today and see where we're at.
It's Nash has become really, really busy with his other obligations. So it's a community effort. We're here. We're doing this out of our spare time. So and we also find it fun, of course. So can't complain. But anyway, right. We actually have some questions, so we can just jump straight into this and sort of start cracking. Live coding, yeah. So I think we'll just jump into some of these, and then what we might do, we were talking about trying to keep the show a little bit shorter than last time because we did go on a bit. So what I'll probably do is do some live coding and answer questions at the same time, and we can all get a thing. So because I think the live coding also kind of enables the flow of questions in terms of people see something happening, or why did you do that? How did you do that? That kind of thing. So let's see how
it makes it interesting because I don't know if they're chatting amongst themselves about some particular thing you're doing, or whether that's actually sort of a question for us. But I sort of lean the other way while we're live coding. If I see anything that looks vaguely like a question, I kind of pull it in anyway. So don't always need the Q: in front of that. So
John,
cool.
You got a big flitter, you have.
Yeah, I do. No, so that was in my office, my actual office, which closed as of Friday. So now I'm in my home office, and I've got plans for that big Flutter thing behind me, but I got to clean up my workshop so I can get in there and actually do what I want to do. It involves lights and all kinds of other stuff. So,
embedded. Sounds like embedded.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
Right. All right. Jabberwack 81. It's close to Jabberwocky, isn't it? I know. What is your opinion on the best open source Flutter app to use as a learning tool? Open source Flutter.
The Counter app. The Counter app. Counter app is a wonderful learning tool. It has layout. It has interaction. It has the app bar. It's got everything you need except routing.
My answer typically would be to point people towards maybe the Grant Skinner. They've got a bunch of samples that show different things. I think those show a lot of good stuff.
What do they call them? They called them Widgets.
Yes, something like that.
Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I'll pop it in the chat for everyone what we're talking about. Actually, I'll bring it up on stream. Can we do that? Let's see if we can do that. Yeah. We have the power.
Right.
I think I have the power. If I can find the right button.
Just gotta find the right button.
There are so many buttons in front of you. Yes.
It is. It's fun and crazy here. Right.
Here we go.
John, you.
Oh, stand up.
Yes.
Let's see here. Yeah, so these are the vignettes that were done for, was it Interact? I think it was. I can't remember actually what event.
Yeah, it's been a little while, but I mean, even just going to their site, I think, do they have like Wondrous on here, or is that separate? It might be separate.
I think they've got a separate repo for Wondrous. Wondrous is actually another good one. That's actually a really good open source one. Here it is here. That's another one.
It's a good one.
I would
see animation.
I would just go to their root.
Incredible.
Yeah, I would just go to their root, right? Because they've also got the flock contacts thing that they did and a few others. So I would just go there and use all of those as.
Yeah, Flock is actually a great one because that's actually completely multi-channel, like in terms of WebLinks, Mac, desktop environments, right? James doesn't have any screenshots on there. I think they got the web, the web one. Let's not do that now. But I feel like they actually had like. I feel like there was like
they used to. I think I think there was.
There you go.
You go for Flutfolio,
yeah, Flutterfolio. Was that what it's called? Yeah, that's it. Flutter Flock, right? It's the same thing, isn't it? I think so.
No, Folio is different, right? Isn't that
another one? Oh, it's the photo editing one, like the photo gallery one. Yeah, again, all of these, like it's all open source. Grab them all, go check it, go check them out. GitHub. Flutterfolio, I'll pop that in the chat as well. There's lots of options. I think we just chosen that one. I was trying to think. There was one that was like state management, and it was like someone doing like the same app but in each different state management solution.
Did they ever do the one that ends in X? Did they ever do the one with X? The unmentionable,
the one we don't talk about. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know which one that one was.
That I don't think I may not have seen that. I see Medium articles that talk about just state management surveys, and I just make sure that they cover RiverPod and don't play provider up too highly. I want them to, really, if you see anything that says provider, please just think RiverPod in your head, and whatever they're praising about provider, RiverPod is that on steroids. I'll use the phrase on steroids.
There's so many. There's just so many good examples. Anyway,
Vendad, that's the one. That's the one. Vendad.
Someone else.
Series.
Oh yeah.
Vendad.
Right.
Before we get too far away from something, I wanted to just to show this to people. Hang on, let's see if we can get this up on the screen. We've got Mr. Tim Sneath himself. He's going to be joining us at FlutterCon in July in Berlin, and he'll be giving a keynote, the keynote. And and if you're interested, you can currently get tickets, and we have a call for papers open on fluttercon.dev. That's my pitch. I will shut up about it now. But honestly, guys, really good. Guys and gals, really good. Go check it out. It's going to be an awesome time. Lots of people are going to be there.
Cool.
So I'm hoping we get a Randall out there. Maybe we'll see. It's a bit of a journey for Randall.
Ooh.
Not this year. Not because of the hip. I can't travel anywhere on a plane probably for the next 6 months. So,
boy.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess we should start getting to the questions here. So we did that one. Sorry.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, as I said, like the best one we could say is just check out
all of them. You should look at all of them. Yes. Right.
Test us. Hello.
Apple Watch.
You can't.
Apple Watch, please. I don't think I've ever seen Flutter. I think there's some people doing some stuff with Apple Watch. I feel like, but I don't know.
Yeah,
it's not going to be Flutter. It's going to be more like just Dart code running on the watch, probably. You can't. There's no bit displays. That's the problem. There's no bit mappable display.
There's a lovely. I just found a talk from Flutter Vikings 5 months ago. Apple Watch and Flutter, no problem.
What?
I was there. I didn't get to see it.
Right.
So
oh, okay.
I'm going to post the link because I know that it was a really good conference.
Somebody watch this video and tell us next week what it's about.
Yeah. Tell us if it solves the problem.
This is homework. It's just homework.
If it's like most of what I found, it's doing a lot of it through native, so it's very limited on the Flutter side.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, it's like, so I was doing for a product not too long ago, I was doing Android Auto and Car Kit. Is it Car Kit or something on iOS? I don't know what's called on iOS.
Yeah,
the Apple Car stuff, right? Yeah. And it's the same thing. Basically, the way it works, the same as like widgets on the desktop. You basically create templates of views and information about views, and then you send it over to be displayed on a different screen, basically. And then you can get the clickbacks about events that occur. So it's kind of like a remote UI. So none of your actual code works on the device, but because of that, you can't customize the UI, like render it completely yourself. It's not that simple. You would have to render it to a bitmap and display the image, and it gets a bit not as great of an experience, should we say.
The moment you said Apple Car Kit, my brain went into Apple Car mode, and I thought that would be a car that can only go on its specially trained roads, specially designed roads that Apple has laid out all over the world.
I think I might miss. I think it's called. Is it CarPlay? I have no idea.
It's car something. Yeah, that's fine. That's close enough. But it would just where my mind went, because that's where it goes sometimes.
And I think in the 2023 State of Flutter, or whatever they called it, I think that's what they call it.
CarPlay. CarPlay.
I think Tim did say that watch support is probably down the road. It's not on top of the list right now. So I remember reading that right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the end of the day is you can actually Flutter doesn't limit you to doing anything in particular, right? But what it does do is, if it's not a first party support, then you've got to work at that. You've got to work the native system. Now you can already communicate with native platforms via method channels, right? So there's nothing that stops you from
Well, if you want Flutter widgets, though, you have to implement the whole rendering layer. You have to implement that bottom layer of transferring bits around.
Sure, what I'm trying to say is, yes and no. But anyway, it's all possible. But we're just saying that it depends on how advanced you want to go and how deep down the rabbit hole you want to take it.
Yeah, you're going to have to do a lot more work than if it was part of native Flutter.
Yeah. Right.
It's funny you say native Flutter, and then we would just normally say like native being the platform.
Yeah, part of the Flutter SDK. Let's put it that way.
Yep.
We have another question. Is there a platform for automated testing Flutter web apps like Firebase Test Lab for Android and iOS? No. I feel like I was having a chat with someone else the other day. Actually, it was super declarative, Matt Carroll. And it was that the support for testing web apps is very limited at the moment. I don't think it's as good as it could be. I don't know what the team is doing to address this. It hasn't been on my radar, to be honest. I haven't been in a situation where I need to do that. The perfect person to ask, and she's not here, Danielle, who's been working on Flutter web stuff. And I'm pretty sure she would be doing automated testing, or trying to at least. So, sorry, not much I can add to that. If you guys want to add anything to that?
I think Danielle said her ship hadn't come in. Wasn't it something like that?
Yeah, so
something about a boat. The ship had sailed or something. It was something about a ship. That's all I remember. So anyway, she's not here today. That's the important thing.
Yes. I'm actually just take a look. Is there anything? There's literally nothing. Oh, running in a browser. Oh, look, running Flutter command, running in a browser, integrated testing. Oh, you can. See, look, this is all that I know. Like, I literally just went to the website, and it's on the docs. So let me bring this up on the screen, because this is something we can chat about.
Documented. Can you imagine that? Actually,
would you believe it? I read the documentation for once.
Right.
So apparently, So
Chrome driver
integration testing, running in a browser, and apparently you download and install Chrome driver, and then you do Flutter drive with your standard integration test driver, and then that will run all your tests in the browser, I would guess, in Chrome.
Awesome. Awesome.
So look at that. And you can even
Give
do
it a try.
A separate process like a web server or something. I have no idea. Running Flutter drive tests in the web wiki page. Oh, look, there's even more details on the wiki page.
Wow. Many facts. Many facts.
There you go.
There you go.
So
the answer is yes. You can do it.
Answers to questions I didn't even have. This is great.
Yeah.
Lots of facts.
Learn something every week.
Yep. Me too.
No, we did that one.
Oh, that's the same.
Yeah.
You gotta remember to unstar it. Yeah.
What is the most fully featured PDF manipulation, creation, editing, password encryption library for Flutter Desktop? So I would say that I've been playing around with.
What was the name of that Adobe product? Isn't it the Adobe product?
Acrobat.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, there is not a fully featured Dart library. However, you can for Flutter for any environment use PDFium, which is made by Chromium, the Chromium team. It's basically the PDF support in Chromium. I don't know. I'm going to have to go look it up right now. Hang on. I'm not sure if that's if PDFium does editing. I mean, I think you can do like filling the forms and things. Honestly, I wouldn't loading a document. So I feel like I've seen a few libraries that are trying to use PDFium, or are using PDFium. Yeah, PDFium bindings. I've not used this stuff, so let me just share my. Why is it? Oh, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing the wrong thing. That'd be why it's not working. Yeah. Let's try that again. So there we go. This one. There we go. So yeah, the PDFium is an open source project by Google for for their Chromium support for PDFs, and it's an entire PDF rendering engine, loading, initializing documents. But this is all written in C, right? This is all like a low level thing. You can use FFI to communicate with that, and apparently someone's actually done PDFium bindings 8 days ago. Low level example. So there you go. You can load the library, and I guess load a document, get the page count, load a page, get page width, create a bitmap, I guess, and start drawing it. Create an image. I don't know. Like load PDF from Parse, save PDF as PNG. I don't know if it allows editing. No, that's a good point, right? Like that's kind of one of the
it's tough to ask.
Prerequisites. The thing is, it's not like literally entire products around this because the PDF spec is so complicated. And I don't think you're going to find any simple answer to your question, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe if you're just trying to like look at PDF, to be clear that you ship this in your app, you're adding like a compiled PDFium library just for rendering PDFs is like 20 meg, I think, at least 10 meg. In fact, let's just have a quick look and see. Does this ship with bindings? Oh, there you go. PDFium.SO1 and PDFium.dll. It's a shame. Do we have file sizes?
That's like selling a product.
4.4 megabytes for the DLL file and 5.3 for .SO. But the problem here is that these may not be compiled for that platform. This is kind of like, this is not great. Also, apparently you might be shipping a PDF file in with everything. I'm not sure how this is packaged up, to be honest. I I think it ships everything. I'm pretty sure you had to put them in the lib directory.
That seems to be like your product you're shipping needs a spare part, so you ship a 3D printer with it.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is that kind of thing.
The whole factory comes with it.
I mean, to be honest, you kind of want to. It's been rendered. There is PDFX. I've used that one before, but it's not. Again, it's not. It's rendering and viewing. It's not editing. To do editing of PDFs is so complicated. It's super duper complicated.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically, you had to make it yourself.
Well, and because PDFs are essentially the output of what would be sent to the printer, and so it has only absolute positionings for things and all that. You're basically, if you're going to edit it a little bit, you've got to figure out what the layout engines would have done to put things in different places. Like what if content at the bottom of the page now spills over to the next page? How do you fix that? You've got to go edit every single page following that. Really? No, I don't want to do that.
Well, it's why Adobe has made an entire product around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Acrobat.
Yeah. So that's just the way it goes. Hey, Renuka.
Yep.
Renuka is awesome. She's an organizer of GDG London. By the way, I'm a co-organizer here of Flutter London with George. Yeah. Which we're trying to get sort of going back again.
I disorganize things. It's my job.
Which one is better for free time?
It's a good question.
Or implemented mini projects with ready-made APIs. I don't think there's a better out of the two. I think do both.
No,
yeah.
I mean, you want to, if you just want to learn UIs, then you're going to be building challenging UIs. If you just want to be actually learning how to actually make apps and calling the APIs and all the rest of it, then you're going to be doing that. And frankly, to build apps, you need both.
Yep.
I think you get a lot of practice if you just pick a vertical task, have something that has a really nice UI, a nice middle layer, and a nice back end, and learn all the pieces of that and how they all interact. I think that's going to make you more valuable to anybody who might work with you, is to look at the whole vertical slice all the time. So that's my thought.
All right.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions? Oh,
just a second. I'm looking. Read as fast as I can.
How can I make native menu for Windows app?
John,
Windows
how do you do it on Windows?
Native menu. Well, the Fluent. I mean, if you're doing truly native, right? You could use the Fluent package, which will give you some of the stuff that you need for that. And then there is the Mac package as well. So if you're writing all that fun code of if I'm on this platform, use this widget, and if I'm on this platform, use this widget, then you can do that.
So when you said Fluent, you mean like is it
Fluent UI?
There's a Fluent UI package, yeah.
Apparently I can't spell Fluent.
Fluent.
Because you've got Fluent UI, which is let's bring this up on screen here.
Yeah, that's what we could write our sample code about. You could do live coding with Fluent.
Yeah. The thing is, all of this is a UI toolkit. So all of this is drawn inside Flutter. So it's not strictly native. I mean, it does the job, right? So there is a platform menu, but this only supports Mac at the moment, I believe.
It's only supports iOS and Android. Oh, platform menu. No, sorry, that's something different. Okay.
I don't remember how you even use it. Platform menu. Platform menu bar. That's the one. That's the top level component. A menu bar in place of the app to render the describe Mac.
Useful on Mac.
Which is especially useful on Mac. The system UI menu is required for every application out of the box. Basically, it allows you to control that bar on the top of the screen with the app. Yeah. So I feel like there's no reason why you couldn't do this on Windows and have it connect to the window menu. Like there's a window menu on the top. but it's very much old school Windows, right? So not like in terms of not a lot of apps use the window menu bars anymore. I don't think
Right.
they go for their own UI. And then also most of them use this new Fluent UI kind of system, and this is the menu bar on the left. Like it's like a top level tab type navigation. So I don't know. I mean, like if you want, I mean, you can just. Here's the thing: there's actually another great package. If you do want to do menus, you can actually use it. It's called Win32, and it's made by Tim Sneath. And this actually has all of the Windows APIs kicked out. And one of these is things like append menu.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually call the original like APIs. There should be a create menu. And if I remember rightly, you give it the it gives you the H menu, and then I think I'm trying to remember when your window is created, if you pass it in there, you pass it in there in creation of your window. I think you can also update it after it's been created. I can't quite remember. I feel like there's a way of doing that. Set. Hang on. This is all coming back to me. It's a long time since I've used the API set. Set. There's a set window D word or something. I think it's set window long pointer. Yeah, and then the index. There's a set of indexes, and one of these refers to the data that's attached to the window. You would have to go look it up. But there's standard documentation on all these things. Like all these APIs are here, but like how you use them is not going to be documented, right? Well, some of them are. At least have a description. But for the most part, all the things you want to do, and you can just call this straight from Dart code. So if you want to make it work on Windows, you can actually refer to these. Alternatively, you can do yourself your own plugin and call these natively from C code, right? But it's all more or less the same thing. But yeah, I'll pop this in the let's put it in RT. Anyway, let me go back. Correct me. Wanted to go take a look at it, but yeah, and it says here you do insert menu item, append menu, insert menu, and all these other fun things to make all your sub menus. Cool. This is how you kind of do like your parent window, what position, and then all the parameters here, like what flags and what these all do, is all in the MSDN documentation. Is it still MSDN?
Yeah, I don't know. It might be. I don't know. I don't know if we changed the name to something different, but yeah,
look,
at least.
I found the guide. I found the holy grail to using.
There you go. Yeah, Windows app development. Yep.
So, create menu templates. So templates is not what you're doing. That's resources that are shipped inside your app.
Yeah.
Set menu. I knew it was there. There, set menu. That's what you call. That is the API that you give it the window handle, which you can get from. There's a couple of different packages, but you can also just get over platform channel your window that Flutter creates for you, and you set window handle. Maybe we could give this a go in a minute. I know it might be fun. Yeah, I'll pop that in the chat as well. People are like, "What's a menu?" It is that kind of thing, right? Like just for so long we've. It's not like what was it like? Do you guys remember when they brought out the ribbon bar? Like on lots of apps.
Oh yeah.
I absolutely hate it, and I still do. I just find it really impossible to find stuff.
See, that's because you knew where to find stuff. So the whole reason we did that is because 80% of the requests from people for features were features that already existed, and they didn't know how to find them in the menu.
Yeah, but literally, like what I mean is with that kind of that tabbed ribbon bar thing.
Yeah.
When you had the top menu, just click on it and you move your mouse along, and it will just highlight the next menu, and so you could literally scan the menus really quickly.
Yeah.
And then with the ribbon bar, you literally have to click, like go through every little subheading and little like thing, and then go, no, it's not that one. Tab on the next one. Is it anywhere on there? You can't just scan a list. Yep. For me personally, it'd be nice. If
I'm with you, but yeah.
I wasn't putting on the spot.
If we're doing rants, I also want to rant about those menus that have pictures, little icons, but don't have a tooltip when you immediately hover. Because I don't know what that picture of a
The
foot
icon
means.
is,
I don't have any idea what a foot is.
Any icon. So this is something that's also misdone on Flutter, and that is every icon button has a tooltip parameter. Fill out the tooltip with the text.
Yeah.
Right. Don't just assume that people
there a
know
lint
what
on that? There
or
should
even
be a
worse,
lint on that if there isn't. Yeah.
Actually, there's a good point. I don't think there is a lint on that, so we should probably push for that. But the other thing to say here is that I've seen this before. A lot of users don't go pressing on buttons because they're scared what they might do.
Yeah. Most things don't have an undo. Most things.
So you know,
like life.
You use the sound. give them tips.
Yeah, no, and especially when the icon is something that doesn't exist anymore, like a floppy disk for save. What the hell? Nobody knows what that icon is anymore. If you're under 30, if you're under 30, you probably haven't seen a floppy disk. And so, but that's still the icon. And the telephone, the handset phone. What the heck is that?
What was that? I saw. I think it was a YouTube video or something, right? And it was literally like they just said that's the icon for the phone app. They just didn't know that was the handset of a phone that you would pick up.
And
doing this. So what if I said if I went to like silently, I went like this, like that.
Call me.
Like, I'm on the phone, right? Or
we know that,
right?
Yeah,
right.
We know that.
But that's because that's a handset, right? Your speaker, your microphone.
You
that's how you pick it up like this, right?
You kids
apparently, the youthful generation now do this.
Or the rotary dial for the dialer.
Phone, yeah.
Yeah, the rotary dial. Like
next, you'll be talking about pulse dialing.
Yeah, yeah. Pulse dialing. No, there's a technology that ought to come back.
We're gonna start talking about freaking and all that stuff too.
Did you know?
Well, here's 2600.
Here's a useless fact for you. On a rotary dial telephone, dialing our emergency number is like the hardest number to dial by accident, because you have to do 9 and then let it go retract all the way around. Then do 9 again, and let it retract all the way around, and then let 9 again, and let it retract all the way around. So actually, that's the reason why it was chosen, because of the physical nature of a rotary dial phone at the time, which is kind of funny.
Well, and in the U.S., they assigned area codes with lower numbers to larger populations, like New York was 212, and like that. So like the lower the number, the more likely it is you were a populated city. So Portland got 50, Oregon got 503. So
so even though your population changes, the number stays the same.
Oh no, they add new overlays. It's really a mess now. It's not even correlated with most kinds. I think we're really diverted now, just because we're waiting for more questions. Please put your questions into the chat. We are watching for questions, and we're stalling until we get them. That's what we're doing.
Example, doing it
what's this saying?
Oh, so it's just
you have to read it out loud, because we're not all here. Go on.
Yeah, don't.
All right. So Roberto's asking, what's the more preferred way of doing an if, else if, or else when showing a different widget inside of a column, for example? So I think we've all done this, right? You're doing something and we do this all the time, right? With if you have data, then show the data. If you don't have data, then show a loading indicator, for instance, kind of thing.
Sure.
Yes.
But he's asking, should you do it inside of a method or just do it right inside the widget? So,
but I mean, I'm really confused, because it's like neither. You just do it inside the column.
Well, maybe what he's asking is, should you do it? But maybe what he's asking is, should you break that out into a widget, a method that returns a widget kind of thing, versus doing it inline?
Maybe never use methods like that. It's just not.
Right.
To be honest, doing inline, and if your build is getting too big, then extract that section of your widget into a separate widget, because it's too big, right? But like you can componentize like a layout of the screen into sections, like header, body, footer, and break them out, and then make them private widgets that start with an underscore as their class names, and then you can't use them elsewhere. They're only used for the screen. So I'm just going to present here. Hang on, let me just present.
And while you're doing that, I think the other thing is here is that, like, again, now here's a you kids answer. You kids don't remember before we had collection literals where we had if and while and for inside the literal, because boy, that really changed everything about how you constructed your columns and your rows and all that stuff. Yeah.
So this is some code we were playing. This is some code we were playing with last time, right? And I guess like a good example here is you could have like, let's say you've got a flag.
Yeah, you get to pull it up.
Oh, oops, sorry.
You hit the wrong button again.
I didn't press the button. Let me hide that. So yeah, so we're saying like, let's say selected coin. We could say if selected. Oh God, that's the right one. If selected coin is equal to Stellar, then is Stellar, and then you can put comma, and then you can say another if statement, say if the selected coin is I don't know, BTC. That's the first one that came to my head. Then this is right. Anyway, we're not going to say the word because it'll probably get us demonetized or blacklisted or some other weird crap things. Right. Anyway.
So because you put decision iteration inside the collection of literals, you can do quite a bit of stuff that you used to have to do by creating a list and adding items to it, or very complicated maps. Oh, some of the maps I've written.
You can't use curly braces. So people try and do this. You can't do that because a curly brace is a block. You're returning a value. This, and then also, if you do want to return multiple widgets, you can do that. So you do that by returning a list that has been spread. We do this, and then I could have multiple widgets of whatever I want. 1, 2, 3, and that's completely valid. So what it's going to do here is it builds this list, and then the spread operator expands that list into this list on the outside, basically.
Yeah, it's really clever.
So that's really clever. Also, you can see here, you just want to do else if. People go, oh, it's not working. It is working. It's because you got comma. The comma is a continuation of the previous statement. So it's if this, else if that.
Yep.
And this continues. You can now get rid of the comma here. Right? Oh, get rid of the comma here. I can do else. And a text other.
I would say, though, from having reviewed enough code from other people and having to, advise them on stuff, if your open bracket to your closed bracket of your column spans a page, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
You need to pull those pieces out so that you can at a glance see your boundaries and go, if then this complex widget, or loop for then these 5 widgets, and that just keep it really simple there, so that you can immediately get at a glance the sort of top level structure of your column.
I will say that that you don't build it like that up front. You normally build like quite a big thing and then start like refactoring it out and maybe changing things, because it's really hard to kind of like move and change widgets all the time and like kind of all these components around. But at the end of it, once you've got there, you're in a better position. Go on, sorry.
Your IDE has extract as widget. Remember that particular one. That's the most useful one in any kind of small things getting big. Any organically grown thing is going to be using that over and over again.
Yep.
What I really like about it, and I think it works everywhere, is because the analyzer gives the formatter package the right things, is that if you're extracting a widget but it has references to a couple of local variables, it will create those as parameters automatically and set them up to be passed down. That is just slick. First time I saw that, I went, oh, it does more than just cut and paste the code. It figures out what it's referring to in the context and does the right thing. And context here being surroundings, not context like build context.
Someone just suggested this, like, is Stellar this, or now you can do a tertiary if, but the problem here is that if you were to try to do that here, you can definitely do it. You could do this, right? And then we could do like
yeah.
column, but I just is that more readable? I don't know.
There's also if else. There is an if else inline, so you can do that as well.
Yeah, I mean, like this is what I'm trying to say. Like, I feel like the actual spelled out if else is
more. Yeah, it's more readable.
Yeah,
so, when you have longer like that. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and I think people shy away from the number of lines. Like developers shy away from this like notion of how many lines of code you have, and it's like that is immaterial. Literally, the lines have no impact on. They have an impact on the compiler to a small degree, but when it actually comes down to like the final product, they have no impact whatsoever. Right?
Your job as a programmer is not to play code golf every day. Please don't do that.
Just a little tip for anyone that wants to know. I just formatted it went to one line. I just want to show you how you get around that. You move it down and you put a blank line comment. By putting a blank line comment, it cannot move the const up because it would comment it out. So therefore, it has to format it. And now when I format, it breaks into nice multiple lines the way I wanted.
Yeah.
So that's always something. That's a little trick that you can do if you want to force formatting or line break. Essentially, we want to.
Right. Like comments and fake comments. Real handy stuff.
Yep.
Cool.
Where are we now? Next question, I guess.
Yep.
Yeah.
How to
architect a Flutter app on code level that is platform adaptive, changes views depending on OS, and also responsive, changing views depending on size of device. Any examples? So for the responsiveness, you can look at something like Wondrous that we talked about earlier, right? That was
last week we actually built one on the stream.
We did, yeah. For the Flutter platform adaptive, there's some of the built-in stuff, right? For certain widgets having the dot adaptive, but that's very limited right now. But then there's also the package, right? From the community.
I can't remember what it's called.
Adaptive platform widgets.
Platform widgets. Platform widgets. I think that's all the name is.
That's the one. Yeah, I've been there before. Yeah,
surprisingly short. Yeah. And it's only for iOS and Android. It's not for anything else. So it's kind of.
What you can do, I'll post that. But what you can do in terms of the bit you're just talking about is you can. Is it in theme? Yeah. So you can say like theme. Theme. I'll actually show you this. It's actually quite cool. If you press play, let me undo these weird changes. So thank you again for I've forgotten her name. She was who wrote this code. I do apologize, but thank you for allowing us to use your code in the stream. We did a code review last week on this code. So this is
Bahar.
Bahar, that's the one. Yeah. So thank you very much for your support. Let's just run this up and I'll quickly show what you can do. So one of the interesting things when you're building Flutter apps is that you can actually run your iOS version of your product on an Android device and vice versa, to the degree of how your UI interacts with the user. You cannot run obviously iOS code like raw native code, like some of the plugins have that. That won't work obviously, but you can actually make your UI react differently depending on if it's iOS or Android on either of the two devices. And that's what I'm going to show you how you do that quickly. If this assembles, Avengers assemble, come on. I'm running it in play, not debug. It's still hot reload, I think. Let's let that do its thing. So the way that we actually do this is we're on this home page, which is one of the screens inside the app. And we can say final theme equals theme.of. But then you want to probably put this in a builder or something. But you'd say, is it equal? Loads. So we can say, you can see here all the different platforms. So we can actually say iOS. And in this sense, we can make this responsive. So we can actually say, actually, let's put a little, it's built now. Pop this in here and say, final is iOS, is iOS. And then what we can say, so this is running a scaffold right now. And then we can actually do a simple if it's running iOS, return a, was it Cupertino scaffold?
Yep.
Cupertini.
Yeah, it was Cupertino scaffold. I'm pretty sure it's Cupertino scaffold. The world has numbers. Let's see. Cupertino scaffold. Guess that's changed its name because I'm pretty sure it was there.
Yeah, I thought so.
Oh yeah. Well, it's Cupertino app, which also then pulls things.
Tab scaffold? Is it tab scaffold? Is that what it was?
Oh yeah, right. You got to get the right name.
Tab scaffold.
Yeah.
Sure, let's do that. Right. And basically, we haven't really got much to put in here, but we'll do this. What does it require from us? This is going badly. Come on, why are you not working? Thank you. Again. Right, want to say tab bar. Sure. Oops. No coding at its best. Items. Are the items? Items are our bottom navigation bar. Right. So we're just going to quickly do this quickly. Do a quick icons dot. Hey, look, do we have a save icon? Is it going to be a floppy disk?
It is probably.
Find out. So it's save. It's like save data.
Does it look like a floppy?
Apparently, loading the font file for fonts. Really?
That's fantastic. Some sort of phantasm there.
Is there no like save? I'm sure there was like a save.
Yeah, there's got to be.
Veritable font of information.
I think it's just having a bit of trouble. Well, let's just do that.
Sport or apart. I thought it said sports. That'd be fun.
6 foot apart? I don't know what that is.
Welcome to those diseases.
Let's give me another icon here. What do we have?
What about the phone? What about our? We were talking about the phone before.
Call, or their dial.
Yeah,
the
4G mobile data, whatever.
Yeah, there we go.
And then
that doesn't date you at all. That doesn't date you at all. 4G, you know, that used to be one more G than most people had.
Dude, I remember 2G. That'd date me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Edge.
Right.
Edge. I hated that when the word edge came up on my phone. It was like, ooh.
Right, and then we'll just say return. I don't know.
And create a bracket. We'll get to your question in a minute. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're in the queue.
Sorry, guys.
You're in the queue.
So if it's the first one, we'll do that. Else we'll turn text saying hello. I don't know, whatever. This is really junk. Right, but the point here is we can now do an else here. Our scaffold here. Right, so what we've now done is made a really horrible but workable like switch. So basically saying if it's iOS, then use the Cupertino scaffold. I mean, obviously this would be the real layout and stuff. Otherwise, use the material design ones. Now, if I restart the app, it should look exactly the same. Perfect. But here's the trick. If I don't have the icon, because we're not in developer mode, are we? Can we do it? No, we can do it, hopefully. So it says here, it says platform Android here. If we choose iOS, it changed.
Ooh, look at that.
Wow.
Now we have 4G.
Magic.
Yeah, that's because. So if anyone
missing
actually
material.
Here's let me just explain what this is. So you
Missing
get
material.
red, if you get red text and a yellow underline, it's because there's no material parent for it to derive the default text style from. But you can actually just
there's a paragraph on that.
So
it's in text style. I think I just found this for somebody. Let's see here.
So default text style is what you can then do in its place, and you could then do whatever you want. Let's say font size.
Where was
color.
that?
What color do you want?
Well, you could. Yeah, I mean, you could do that, or you could just wrap it in a material.
Yeah, I'm just showing how it works. So, and let's choose. Well, let's choose a orange. Deep orange.
There you go.
So now if I reload it and we choose 4G, it's up there, but it's right in the center. There's our orange, there's our orange hello. Now, if alternatively, as long as somewhere above it in the hierarchy is a material, it will go get the default text style because the material widget injects a default text style based on the theme. So if you use a material, it resets your text style coming down the tree. So you've been warned. So now, if I go to 4G, it will be the default from the theme. There's other ways of dealing with this, but I just wanted to kind of let people know. So so there you go. Now if I switch back to Android, I'm getting the Android right?
That actually is documented on the Material App API page. If you could pull that up, you can see the red and yellow text. It actually shows it there. Material App.
So there you go. So that answers the question. That's us answering the question about adaptive widgets. And changing the app size is, again, very similar. You get layout builder, things like that. And you can check out last stream, for example, of us live coding that.
Cool.
Any code snippet or package for writing optimized scheduled background tasks with isolates. Yes, there is something that I can find you. A new package is being worked on, isolate agents. Pop that in the chat, bring it up on the stream. Let's see here, isolate agents. And it's this kind of notion of that you tend to create use the actor model. I can't remember. There's some details on it. It basically just stops you having to do the send receive and a bunch of other stuff around it. But I mean, there's to be honest, there's
actually about half a dozen packages that talk about isolate worker pools. So just look for the one that fits your needs the best.
Is this new code right optimized? I mean, see, the thing is, you can do so first of all, use the new isolate run and isolate exit. So inside your isolate function, you do isolate exit. And what this means is that isolate can stay alive and serve as the next request to come in, and it runs them in what's called they're called isolate groups, light isolate groups, if I remember rightly, LITE, it's about basically there's less startup time, they're lightweight, and so you don't really have to manage them like that. You just create isolates and it should be fine. But if you want to schedule them, prioritize your tasks, that's really probably something you could do with a display tree or a prioritized queue, and then you just add stuff to that queue, and then once the isolate finishes, it gets to the end where you normally do isolate exit, it can just go grab the next thing from the queue and so on, right? But if you're trying to do that yourself, you need to use a send port, receive port, which kind of gets complicated.
Yeah.
Or you just once it finishes, you just do a then on the end, wait for the run to finish, and then go get your next thing from the queue and start a new isolate, and it will use the old one basically.
Right.
I hope that helps.
Well, And actually, there's a question just ahead of that might be useful here. Where to find it? Right there. So this one. Let's talk about the difference between compute, the run you just talked about, and the classic way. That's the three main ways of firing off an isolate.
I'm going to say something. So, compute doesn't exist anymore. It still exists as a function, but it actually just runs isolate.run. There you go. So that's so compute is isolate run. It's the same thing now in the latest versions. And under the hood, isolate run starts up the isolates using the old spawn mechanism and sets up the send receive ports and all the stuff to like send your parameters in and get the response back. I think I said this before. It'd be nice for us to get channels so Dartlang has a thing called channels, which basically means you define something as a channel, and then you can just send data on, and then other people can subscribe to that, and it could be on completely different threads, completely different isolate boundaries. So it's a messaging queue, and super simple, super nice. It's part of the language. I'd really like to see Dart go that way. All right, I guess next question.
Sure.
Can you share open source Flutter projects? Sure,
of course you can. I don't think that's what this question was.
No, I was being facetious. Sorry,
but no, that's the first thing I thought though. Was of course you can share.
I would suggest you go to the very beginning of the stream. At the very beginning of the stream, we posted some links for G Skinner and Wondrous app and the vignettes and a few other ones. These are all open source Flutter projects. There's also Invoice Ninja. Invoice Ninja has been a long running.
No, it's all widgets. You mean?
No. Invoice Ninja. Invoice Ninja. I forgot his name now. Oh my god!
That's the same guy though. That's the guy. The guy that did Invoice Ninja also runs It's All Widgets.
Yeah.
Right. I forget his name too.
No, I can't. I've got to go. I'm so embarrassed. I've got to find his name.
It's on the page.
No, literally, I'm going to the page to go find it because it's going to bug me.
Yeah.
Oh, Hillel. Of course, it's Hillel. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Hillel. Right.
Oh, God. Sorry, Hillel. He's probably watching this going, guys, yo.
Those guys.
Those kids.
Can't remember.
So, Invoice Ninja, let me see if I can find it here, is a open source project. Not free, but you pay for the service if you want to use their service, but their source code is open and you can check it out. There's a link to the GitHub somewhere. Let me see if I can find it here. The one time I then find out that they've gone closed source. No, it's here. I found it.
Yeah.
I'll pop this up on the chat. Go check that out.
Yeah, I had Hillel on my Floss Weekly when I was still doing that show. So this project's been around for a while. He also had me on his show on It's All Widgets. So we've actually traded shows.
I have to say, Hillel's been absolutely brilliant for the community. Hillel started an open source Flutter project from day one. I think it was like alpha when he started doing that. And then he went and picked up web for Invoice Ninja, literally out the box. He was the person running into all the problems that they fixed or the team have fixed and so on, and we're benefiting from that. So hats off to Hillel.
Right. Yes.
All right. Next question, I guess.
Ooh.
How can I create a hover effect for a drop-down form field?
What do you want to hover to do?
This question, I think. Well, the question here is the hover. Are you trying to achieve a hover, as in you hover over the drop-down button or you hover over the list items that pop up when you click on the button? That'd be my first question. But if you're talking about the first one, we can certainly give that a go right now, actually.
And how do you hover on mobile? You can't just hold your hand over it.
It would have to be desktop.
But we support that, and it's desktop, right?
Yeah.
So, let me just quickly throw a pipe.
Yeah, if you have a real pointer, you can point it at things, but you can't hover over your phone. It doesn't help.
Well, if you have a phone that works with a pen, maybe, but
Oh.
then your pen is actually like a mouse pointer, right? So
yeah,
I'm not sure what
so
happens
your
in those
desktop.
cases.
I think. Well, I could tell you. Let's see.
Light sensor. Yeah, I like that. Light sensor.
No, I've got.
Uses the camera. Uses the camera. Sees where your finger is hovering. Yeah.
I gotta go find my pen.
Yeah.
But I believe we do treat it. We just treat it like a mouse. So when you hover over it, you get whatever effect the mouse would have.
That's why I remember Steve Jobs 15 years ago going, "This is the best stylus because you never lose it. It doesn't come off."
Yeah, but he also said that this was the best size phone, right?
Yeah, he said lots of things back then. Yes.
It's a bit like, hang on, I'm going to bring it up. It's a bit like Bill Gates saying, you don't ever need more than 640K.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They all say it. Right. Oracle cannot be broken. Nobody can penetrate Oracle.
Okay, so did we answer this yet, or are we still just
hang on.
He was looking for something. I was just stalling for him.
And we distracted him with stupid jokes. Yeah, my stupid jokes. Sorry, it's not on the guest at all. Just on me. I'm a host. I'm allowed to.
So if we do
jokes.
something like this, right, and then have a
chilled. It's a very cold child. Chilled.
It's a chilled child.
Child on ice. Oh, now we're gonna get email. If they can only find the email address.
Okay, so now we have a Windows app. We should be able to say make a form. Let's surround our. Let's surround our column with a form, and inside this form we're going to have a drop down button form field, and
drop down, turn around.
It's going to host string
boot button field,
and these are drop down.
Drop down, turn around.
Or something.
Go to town.
Menu item, any menu entry.
Cover button field. And I'm going to sing that at karaoke tonight.
You got me. I was singing it in my head.
I've got 4 nights a week of karaoke now, and I'm just, it's constantly running through my head when I'm looking at a song going, oh, I should sing that. I put them all on a list. I'm up to like 200 songs in my list now.
Items. Right. So if we do this and say second, one more, third. Right. So this kind of just sets up. This is like the boilerplate. We just set up the scenario, and then on change, we're just gonna.
Oh, and since this counts as live coding, I'll bring this question in. Simon.
Hang on.
Oh, okay. They missed the toggle switch in the debug.
Oh, how are you able? Oh, you missed it. Okay, yeah. So if you go to the Flutter Inspector panel, at the top of the Inspector panel, there's a platform list that you can choose Android or iOS from. If you have multiple projects running, it will highlight different tabs at the top here. You have to select the right one. You can also turn on debug boundaries and slow down animations and show the performance charts of how many frames per second you're getting and all these other fun things. So this allows you to highlight a widget, click on it, and then it will take you to the code and show the tree if I'm running in debug mode, which I'm not because I'm an idiot. So yeah, anyway, there's a bunch of like little options. You also got the performance panel, which lets you diagnose performance issues, and outline that helps you kind of work on your tree and see it running. Yeah, there you go. There's your quick tour. This is by no means the only set of functionality that you get. And okay, so here's our drop down. Wonderful drop down, first, second, third. And basically what the person wants to know is when you hover over it, can we get an effect to happen? So I don't know what happens if we had to use a mouse region. Let's see. So mouse region has an on enter and on exit, right?
Yeah. Isn't there a pointer watcher that you can do within, like within a widget?
Well, I just want to see what we kind of got going on here.
Mouse pointer or something. Or mouse region should be it. Yeah.
Yeah, mouse region is definitely the correct one. And then if we said like print enter, right, and exit. So now when my mouse hovers over it, we get enter. When it leaves, we get exit.
Yep.
So now, given these two properties, we can now change our parameters that we pass to drop-down button. So what can we change? We can change the drop-down color. We can change the input decoration. We can change
he was asking about what the hover, right? So is there a...
So I don't think there's like a particular hover thing. What you're probably getting is the input decoration. Yeah. Let's see what happens if we specify a custom input decoration here. So giving a blank one, what does that get us? Hopefully.
And there's an interesting point there too.
Hover color.
Here.
Well, apparently
material does all that already. It's all the multiple states are all being calculated into a color, but then you got to go into the whole, here's what I write to translate the current state into a current color mess.
Oh yeah,
that's interesting. I'm getting a hover effect, but it's not taking my color.
Right. Yeah, that's probably because it's being overridden by the whole material color stuff.
You can so all of this is, just to be clear. That's interesting. That is not the expected behavior. So either I'm doing something wrong or
actually I expected it to fail. So it is expected behavior. I expected it to fail.
Where's
so what we're going to do, we're going to go looking actually, because I'm going to see what this is doing.
Oh, let's not fix this. Okay, go ahead. Get down that rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole.
No, we're just going to take a quick look here.
So there's no quick look with material. There isn't. Material is a deep rabbit hole.
And if we go, I'm going to skip all of this, go to the actual place where it builds the button.
It was going to be a short show today, but now
we have 10 other questions still. While you're doing this rabbit hole, we still have 10 more questions coming in. So
let's have a quick look. Let's have a quick look here. Right, container row.
No, it's not quick. It's never quick. Not for material that when they added the thing that takes the 4 states of hovered, disabled, highlight, or whatever the 4 things are, and they map those into some set of colors based on that with all these cute generics to do that. No, it's never simple.
So there is it's interesting actually. So they're using an inkwell but not passing over. So they're using an input decorator to do the decoration. However, there's actually a problem here because the inkwell is taking over that because it's above it in hierarchy, and they're not passing over the hover. So we can actually control this. So inkwell's hover color is actually comes from the theme, and we can override that. However, it all depends on what you're actually trying to achieve here, because we can just surround this with a color box, right, and then set that color based on the parameters. So color equals set color, and then this is going to be really, really crappy right now, but it's just an example. You'd extract this into its own widget, of course. But yeah, color. You hover, we hit color blue. First example in the world. And you exit, make it back to red again. And then this is going to be shown behind our drop-down field. So that's actually working because the material that's behind all of this was what was picking up the touch effect. It's interesting actually Oh, that's because I did do set state delay, like an idiot. I know better.
You added state without setting the state.
Can't type.
Copy that for that. Here we go.
Oh, it should work.
Should work differently anyway. Oh, look at that. Hover colors.
Oh my God, it's so amazing to change color. But of course, like we put a color box, you can change the padding, you could do whatever you want, and you know,
you could animate the transitions. That would be fun.
To be clear, I think another, I mean, that is it. Like this was an animated container.
No. We got a little more questions.
You brought it up. You mentioned it. You mentioned it.
So you just do this.
I'm sorry.
Is that visible? So yeah, you just set an animate container with your duration, and whenever you change any one of the parameters, it takes this duration to change. Now there is a fade there. It's very subtle because it's very short, but yeah, you can times.
You could change red to transparent, and then we'd be back to probably the default.
Yeah, we could also say null, and it would also work. So yeah, we go. So you hover over it, goes blue. You come off. You go to the default. So we choose second. Hover over it. But
everyone look at package Flutter Animate though. Flutter Animate is cool.
For sure. I mean, but if you wanted to have like this as a widget, you do what Randall said. You say, what's it? Extract.
Texas widget.
Because it's probably going to do the wrong thing here. But I do want to quickly just show you that you take this, you make your stateful widget, and we'll call this like.
You did it the hard way.
Yeah, you didn't use the menu.
No, because I know what it's going to do. It's not going to pull the variable over. It'll pass it as a parameter, and I actually want to bring. I want to cut it.
Yes, that is yes. There are instances where you will have to do a little bit of work if you use the tooling to do it.
Right.
I went down came from.
Down.
Up, down. And now here's the thing. So you're talking about like passing this over. Now what you do is you take this parameter and this parameter here, the builder. Items and on change. So we take items in our widget and items and on change. Yeah, we're going to go in our constructor. Yeah, final on change final. And it forces to be a string. That's how we can do this. Why not? T unchanged, and now get those parameters. And now when we call this widget of a drop down, we can actually pass in these parameters. So if we go up here, it becomes hover down with those parameters. So it's just like the original drop down now, but inside of that, we've now hidden away our own color changing. And what we need to do is pass those values across. And lo and behold, everyone, when they use your T, that's a little tip for you. You have to pass the T across. That's the type, generic type. Just pop that here and here, and everyone's happy. Should be. He says. The one time I want it to work, it's not going to work. That's because the T's not there. There we go.
Yeah.
And then this is not because. So basically, it looks the same. And now I could actually take one of these and say, let's say, restart, and then they start because they start off as red. Let's make them start off as transparent. 10 people. Now you got 2 blue drop downs that change when you hover over them.
Nice.
Cool. Let's carry on.
Ship it.
Ship it. What's next?
Anything.
Next
That was that one. All right,
that was that one.
Yeah.
I try to use very few dependencies as possible. I've seen a couple of
Good
packages
job.
been left for dead by their creators, even though people try to help contribute. Any tips what a user should do?
Cry.
It's a tough one.
Take over the package yourself.
Yeah. Fork it. Fork it. Fork it and ship it.
Kind of thing you have to do. Yeah. There is that. So we do, as the Flutter community, we do have a GitHub. We try and take over packages that people are using that they don't want, that the current maintainers don't want to maintain, and we try and find maintainers for them. It is a challenge in itself just doing that. And yeah, if you find a package, and again, if here's the thing, if you want to use some code in your project but you don't want to maintain it, well, you can't just rely on someone else for free to do that, right? If you're not going to pay them. Right. So at that point, you're like, well, bring is it code MIT licensed? Is it are you allowed to, Apache license? Then bring it into your project. Maintain it as part of your project. Make a little package, make it part of your mono repo. There's other ways of dealing with it, but of course, as what we want you to do would be to fork it, republish it under your own name, and that way you can continue it on for the community. But then you have to maintain it. Otherwise, you become just as bad as the original, in terms of
you become that guy.
You become that guy, and that's not fun. Trust me.
Yep.
All right.
Next. Creative bracket. What do each of you use for the back end when writing Flutter apps? I'm assuming that he's talking like storage and all that sort of stuff, maybe.
Firebase, Superbase. For me, it's whatever that depends. I actually said that in the chat. I said the answer is depends.
Yeah, I mean, my back end for 2 of my apps is the system that those apps are originally built in that I just made new apps for because the existing apps were no good. So I just use their back end.
You want to know what mine is? Dart. I mean, you can just like I did it. If you go to, I keep banging on about this because it's the go-to thing I think of. But if you go to YouTube.com and go to, and obviously not now, but go to YouTube.com and search on the main Flutter channel, search for the Boring Show. Me and Craig did a 3-part Boring Show on writing server-side Dart, writing your back end, and it's super simple to get started. There's also plenty of now packages like Dart Frog, Server Pod, lots of other packages that let you write Dart code on for your server-side code. So go for it.
Right.
Yep.
You could do it.
All right.
You could do it.
Nice because you get to do verticals then, right? So you go, I need the user to be able to do this. Okay. So you design, you say, okay, I need these parameters for an API. You declare the API. You build your API, you do that, and you can now ship all that in one commit or in one PR, and now you've done your vertical slice for implementing something rather than kind of doing a ping pong, which when you have developers that work in different languages, you can't have like your front-end developers that are doing JavaScript working in C# on the back end and vice versa. You can't work that language. So you do this kind of ping pong, which is like, okay, I need an API. You ship the ticket over, the backend does it. It ships back. You implement it. Oh, there's a bug. It doesn't do this. Okay, ship it back, ship it forward. And you get this kind of back and forth happening, which slows down everything. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why JavaScript on the backend has been very popular, because all those front-end JavaScript developers doing websites have now doing back-end development. Go on.
I do want to give a shout out to Superbase, though. I mean, I like the technology. I like that. I'm a Postgres fan from way back. So Postgres being the core of that is really, really nice to me. And that they've added layers on it to do streaming stuff that's comparable to Firebase. And that it's all open source, top to bottom. So you can have them host it for you and do the scaling in that. And that's how they make some of their money. You can take the whole thing and drop it on your own platform. So bring it on-prem essentially, or on virtual prem, I guess, on your cloud, and have it do it that way. And then they make money also on consulting, making it and support contracts, stuff like that. But no, it's a brilliant idea. I'm glad they're continuing to develop it. Which means they're at least funding their developers enough to keep them going forward. But keep looking at that. Supabase, definitely a good choice.
Yeah, and I mean, I just say use what you know. I mean, one of my first Flutter apps, I was just, this was a long time ago when, alpha beta time I was coming from .NET Xamarin. So I wrote my back end as a, Azure SQL database with a web services and Azure front, piece that served up my API. So, that's what I used from one of my apps. Yeah. AppWrite. Yeah.
I don't know anything about AppWrite except that it exists. So do you guys have opinions on AppWrite? Have you used it?
I've not used it personally, but it's an open source backend for apps. They have been promoting their stuff at different conferences as well. So I just not find a chance to kind of use these things, and as long as to be honest, I like if these services, I can't wait for one of these services to exist with their backend like Supabase or AppWrite is written in Dart. As soon as that happens, I'm okay with it, because it means that if there's any bugs, it's open source. I can go in there, I can fix it, I can make additions, we can just ship it, right?
Yeah. All right.
So there's a tutorial coming out on it. Yes. Nice.
There you go.
Good.
Nice. Cool. So, I guess next, how to detect and fix a memory leak in Flutter.
Detect using the tools.
Yeah. So
fix it by fixing it. Just fix it.
So these people,
you push the fix button. It's on my ID.
While we're here.
Is it not on your ID? The fix button.
There is actually an auto fix button. No. So what you actually need to do is you do what's called a heap profile. So as part of the profiling tools, when you build your app, you can run. Hang on, let's see if I can bring this up here.
I was gonna say, you want to bring the app back up and bring up the tools just to show where it is.
Yeah. So this is over here in performance. I'm running this in debug mode. So you get a couple of things. First of all, you get a little icon down here, and there's other places for it. There's in the performance tab, you also have it, and that starts the Dart DevTools. This is specifically, I'll make this bigger as well so we can see it hopefully. So the Dart enhance, right? So in here you'll see you've got a memory profiler, and this will show you what your current memory is and all the rest of it, and you can export it and so on. But I'm just clicking around seeing what there is now. But this shows you your common.
That list class has tons of instances. Should fix that. Definitely fewer lists.
Yeah. Anyway, so basically you refresh it, and then you take a snapshot, and then you do whatever once you've done. Go on.
Hurry up. Finish.
Should be fine. It's gonna. There we go. So there's my snapshot at the moment, and then I can then take another. I can then do something in my app that causes things to be created and things to happen, and then you take
basically get your memory leak.
Get your memory leak to happen, and then you can compare the two. When it loads, there we go, and then I can compare this with one, and it shows me what was created, what code was run. And you can start clicking around and analyzing what allocations came from where. I mean, I'm not going to see much what I'm doing right now, but basically, you're analyzing what took place between those two snapshot instances. If I could, I've zoomed in quite too much here. I can't see it.
This was 6 years of my life. 6 years of my life doing this.
Dehance.
But yeah, you should find. I'm trying to see if I can find a good example of what we've just been seeing here. But yeah, you honestly you could just order your columns. If you've got a leak, you're going to have your outliner, and then you can see where that's being corrected from. But yeah, I mean, this is all kind of expected behavior we're seeing here right now. This is nothing out of the ordinary, but you would see something out of the ordinary if you got a memory leak, right? Like you would see something. Oh, I've got 100 megabytes used by this one class, or
Right.
I don't know, something like that. So, but the idea is that then this can tell you where in your code base it's actually occurring, how it got to the point of allocating it, and at that point you can then chase it down. So yeah, as you can
one
see,
thing
here,
it's important to know.
Allocated in.
Yeah.
Go on.
One thing it's important to know about Dart is that circular references do not trigger memory leaks like they would in C++ or something, because there's a full mark sweep garbage collector. So it does always figure out who's not being pointed at by anybody, even if it's just each other. It figures that out and goes, oh, you're gone. So that stuff is eventually reclaimed reasonably well.
Yep.
I mentioned just now that there's also we just looked at the memory tab, which gives you enough information about memory, but there's also a CPU profiler, which you pretty much do the same thing. So you run record, you then perform some actions in your application, whatever those actions are, and then you hit stop, and then that will process. You want to keep these very short, right? You can change the data sampling rate, so it's like it works out better. But then if we ordered this by self time here, probably we're not going to get much of a separation right now because I'm not actually doing anything that it's not a good example application. We're not doing that much, but as you can see here, it's out the entire time that I spent recording, it spent 43 milliseconds of that, or 2.25%, running begin frame, right? Which is not a lot of time at all. And so this allows you to kind of track down what called the function, what called that function. You can eventually go down the tree to see where it came from. So this tree here actually matches that call chain because we're in bottom down, but then you have got call tree, very much similar, pointer dispatched, where it went to, how it got to there, and how much time it spent in total in each one of these functions. And that gives you an idea about, okay, this is a big outliner here. This is something like 60% of I'm getting stutters. Why am I getting stutters? 60% has been spent here. And then you go figure out and analyze and work out where your sort of 50% is being used. There's also...
I think it's worth it for people to just, spend some time playing with these, even if you don't have an issue. If you've got an app and you've got 20 minutes to kill, go into the tools, dig through them, see what's available. You might find something that down the road you'll have to use, and just knowing it's there and a little bit about how it works.
Much better that you do it with an ordinarily running app that isn't really going sideways, to kind of see what regular looks like on all these graphs and charts and drill downs and stuff. And then when abnormal comes along, bing, you can fix it. Go ahead.
Click on this little hint, because it can be really difficult to kind of like walk these charts, so they actually give you hotkeys. So use all the hotkeys around. Anyway, as you can see here, this is draw frame. Draw frame invoked all this stuff, and it spent all this time. You can see update element, drawing those. These are all the different widgets and how much time it spent doing each one of these different widgets. And if we scroll down here, that widget called that widget that called that widget, and eventually, here's a border side paint to paint. It took that long, and so on and so forth. Obviously, this is in debug mode, so everything takes a lot longer than we're doing release. But that's why we have profile mode. So profile gets rid of some of the debug stuff and kind of helps you in terms of profiling. What we just explained here on CPU memory is pretty much the same when it comes to performance. If you get a frame that's bad, you can then go into it. The frame analysis tells you what it thinks is going wrong here, how much time you spent doing something, and then you can actually look at the timeline events and see how much time is spent, like here rendering, and this kind of times doing the actual GPU piece took too long. Again, we're on debug. This is kind of expected behavior. You can actually turn on like not performance, enhanced tracking of builds, layouts, and so on. And find.
Can you go back to profile tab once? One of the things that I see people ask a bunch is the profile app startup. So, when people have startup issues, that's a good one to know that is out there, that you can profile the startup to be able to see what's going on. If you're,
I think there's a flag you can do on the command line as well, which starts it up in profile.
In profile, yeah.
There's also you actually have a full active debugger like you have in your IDE, so you can set breakpoints and actually debug in the browser, which is kind of fun. If you need to do that, I guess you can do that. And then you've got network monitoring for network requests, general logging. So these are all your log statements from your application and what they're doing, and then app size analysis and some other VM tools around isolates, so you can see what isolates you have, how long they're running for. You can see allocation port, open ports, objects. You can see what objects are currently allocated and go find them and do all that kind of fun stuff. Anyway, there you go.
All right.
The world is your fingertips.
We're stopping questions at this point because we have 15 questions and 15 minutes left in the show. So go fast. No more questions.
All right, next question.
Next question.
Is there a way to have a widget auto size to the minimum size needed to avoid the layout overflow error? For example, a list item that corresponds in height to the amount of text it holds.
Implicit.
It's intrinsic height is what you want to wrap your intrinsic height in your case is what you want to wrap in. That basically means however big it needs to be to fill its content intrinsically, that to be that size.
Yeah.
So
essentially, it walks and figures out how much space, and then says, "This is how much space I need."
There's a mechanism that asks each widget to compute its intrinsic height, and based on a certain. So if its height is based on width, and if its width is based on height, it's the opposing. You need to have a bound. You can't do unbounded. You have to have a boundary to do it, because you can say what is intrinsic height for text, but with no width. Like, what is intrinsic height for no width? And it's like, well, I can't do that because it doesn't know how to wrap it and how high all the lines would be, right? So that's what I'd say about that. If you're interested as well about how that works, there's a bunch of stuff in render object to do with that, and then also dry layout, which is somewhat between intrinsic and actual full layout. So that should do it. Also, just to be clear, something people forget, they don't wrap things in expanded. So what happens is, if you for example, text, if you don't wrap it in expanded in, say, a row, as you add more text in that widget, it will overflow off because it's going to keep going because it hasn't got bounded width. So that's what gives you an overflow. If you wrap it expanded, it pushes it out to fill the content, and then it will wrap because it's got a bounded width. And that's the same thing that happens when a lot of people forget to put a column on column. By default, it's center aligned. And again, if it's not bound, that means it's got no bounded width, essentially. So you want to do stretch normally. Set your cross-axis alignment to stretch, and then that way it gets a bounded width.
Yep. All right, next
question.
Pros and cons of using IntelliJ versus having an actual map. Well, I'm not sure how that relates to having an actual map for Mac for developing an iOS app, but
so I tell you something. I can tell you about this, and that is all the Flutter products I work on. I do the vast majority of how I want it to look and feel on iOS on my Windows machine in an Android emulator, and I just set the display mode as you saw to iOS, because you can do that and it's less hassle. But then obviously you still have to build it on an iOS Mac, right? So you still have to own a Mac, or at least run a Mac build server somewhere like CodeMagic. But again, you still have to run it, you still have to test it, you have your hands on it. So it can help speedline things, so stop you having to maybe go back and forth if you're working on Windows. But yeah, I'm not sure.
Ultimately, you need Apple hardware somewhere to be able to sell into the Apple Store.
Sadly, that is what the big Apple declares is law. So you must do this.
Their code.
I do the same thing. I primarily do all my stuff on a Windows devices, and then I've got the Macs sitting over there that I can do my iOS deployments from. And any final testing.
I mean, like obviously, if you're trying to do things like, as we said earlier, like for example, CarPlay, that's not only going to work on an Apple device because it uses Apple APIs, the Apple hardware, and so on to do that. So, there's your pros and cons, I think. Next.
Any way to overcome tap outside child in interactive viewer? I wanted to achieve something like Figma Canvas or a Rive artboard scene. Assume Rive app is made with Flutter, so I think it's possible. Yes, Rive app is made in Flutter.
I don't know what he means by tap outside child.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is either. Tap outside child in interactive viewer.
Overcome?
I mean, like a child of the interactive viewer, so you're still tapping in the viewer, but not. I'm not sure.
Or child outside the viewer maybe is like deselecting it, and the focus coming off does something.
Maybe like tap outside stack. It just came through in the chat.
Yeah,
tap outside stack.
That means.
But then you're not tapping in negative position. I think I still not following what you're trying to achieve here. So I'm thinking about like Figma artboard, and I know the Figma covers the entire background, but that's because it's like at the bottom of the UI stack. So you can tap on things on top and still interact with the artboard and zoom in, zoom out. It's just how you do your layout. I'm not sure I can.
You need a widget you're controlling at the point where you're tapping and trying to recognize it, and then that can do anything relative to your other things that you're also controlling.
Yeah,
and that's how you can get a negative position because you're seeing where tap is and you're seeing what your objects that you're owning are. Yeah,
I will mention also that people also get the fact people also, when you're doing some of these advanced things, you're doing your own custom widgets. When you're doing your own custom widgets, you're not stuck with just scroll controls or anything else. You can just say, okay, the finger moved this distance, so move my widget that distance, and you've just made your own interactive viewer, right? Like you're not stuck with just using the platform widgets. So if there's some sort of behavior that doesn't work the way you expect it, you can change that. It's perfectly viable for you to do that.
Yeah,
there's the classic diagram from the original Flutter specifications that had like the layer cake, and it had all these different things. And I remember the story at that time was any one of those pieces can be pulled out and replaced with your own code. And I thought that was amazing at the time. And now I see it practically being done all the time. So
all the time.
Customizing it at every level. Yeah.
I also mentioned that by default, hit testing is only inside the child bounds. So let's say you've got like, I don't know, a big box and a small box in the middle of the screen. If I tap outside of the big box, it will never go to the smaller widget because it's not within the bounds of the widget. It'll go if you tap on top of the small widget in the middle of the small box and on the sides of the big box. It will first of all it'll be passed through the parent to the child and it'll ask the child, "Do you want this?" And it can say yes, but also the parent can say yes as well. And both can actually take this. There's a thing called the gesture
arena. Gesture arena. Fight it out. Fight.
And it's how you can also use raw gesture detector and make your own gesture factories and do your own sort of stuff there as well. There's lots of options. It's just hard to understand what you're trying to get at.
Yeah, super flexible. You have to be much more detailed than you can do in a chat. Or we already know that chats are very limited.
Something that I will mention is that if something's transparent, it also is not part of the touch area. It doesn't hit detect. So what sometimes you need to do is in a gesture detector, put the hit test behavior and set that to
opaque.
You can also say transparent. You say child first. There's a bunch of different options, but opaque is the kind of one because the default is defer to child is the default, and then which is what I just said. It defers to the child first.
I would say take this question to the UI and layout channel on the Flutter Discord.
Yep,
amazing people there. 24/7. There are people there that can answer questions exactly like this, and they can ask you for more details and get the whole interaction. The Discord is not as well known as it could be because it really is an amazing resource.
Yep.
There's also There is also two really interesting widgets that are not used enough, and that is absorb pointer and ignore pointer. So funny enough, ignore pointer does what you think. You can have widgets in your hierarchy that you want to just not deal with input right now. Temporarily, you want to like stop them from being interacted with. Let's say you brought a loader up on the screen. You can just wrap them in ignore pointer and no pointer events will be processed. Conversely to that, you've got absorb pointer, which means I want to steal all the pointer events and not let the thing underneath get those, which is slightly different. One means take them and consume them. The other one means just don't ignore them completely and let them pass on as usual. All right, next question, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, using Amplify in Flutter Android app, but users are abruptly getting logged out. What could be the problem? TTL a token 60 minutes for 30 days.
Access token 60 minutes, refresh token 30 days.
Right. Every 30 days.
Which is basically,
right. So
that's the standard.
The default kind of standard, yeah.
I honestly couldn't tell you. I've not used them, but I will mention who you need to speak to. Hang on, what's his name?
Salil?
He's been here.
Yeah. So Salih's actually been on the show. Salih's also the sort of go-to man for right now for Flutter and
AWS,
and AWS and all that kind of fun stuff. Let me get you his Twitters and
he's on every once in a while.
Yeah. So you just keep watching this show week by week by week.
Wait for him to come back.
And then ask him directly. Yeah. There's your contact information right here.
There's his Twitter. He's a developer advocate for Amplify, for Flutter and Dart GDG. He is the go-to man that will tell you exactly what your problem is.
He can answer.
Go tweet at him, and he will be like, "Oh my god, this is a bug. We're going to fix it." Or he'll be like, "Okay, it's a known issue. We fixed it." Or he'll be like, "Don't know what you're talking about. Fix your code."
Or he'll tell you, "Here's probably why you're doing it."
Honestly, it'd be deep in there. So he'd be like, "Yeah, this is your problem. This is how you fix it." All
right. Next question, Roberto. Lots of questions today. That's good. I tend to hard code the text style values, but this causes when I switch to dark mode, it will not adapt to it. I suspect I need to use the theme. Yes, but I don't like some of the predefined styles. Well, you need to use the theme and make your own styles, and then use the theme.
You have there's a thing called theme extensions. Theme extensions exactly solve this problem. When you don't want to deal with like the material text styles or anything else, you just do your own material extension, and then you can just change the parameter whenever you change between slow and dark mode, light and dark mode, and that will take you where you want to go.
Yep.
There is actually wasn't there like a video on it recently?
Yes.
Let me see if I can find it. Yes.
If only there was a way to look for videos on the internet.
Yeah, on some place that has videos.
Yeah.
So the video link and the documentation have been posted, but in short, the documentation has a great example of this. But in short, it's basically adding extra fields almost to your theme, and then at the top, when you change to like dark mode, you rebuild your material app at the top level with a different theme, with different theme extensions, and all those widgets that were monitoring that theme extension will get rebuilt, and they can choose a different text style based on that. So it's all kind of automatic, but it's really simple.
If you don't like the built-in themes, also if it's just a matter of having the wrong coloring or things like that, you can redefine those, and that would be better than adding your own columns to the theme data.
Yeah,
because then you also be able to impact other widgets that are built in that are looking at the standard set of colors.
It can be this like I had to be honest with you, that with the material theme, I feel like it can be a bit of a whack-a-mole, right? Like you change the color here and change the color there, and you do this, you do that, and you're kind of doing this kind of like ping pong, kind of like whack-a-mole, trying to get every balance just right.
Didn't we discuss this? Was it you and me that talked about this? I want to make a widget layer that you can insert for debugging that takes over the theme. So you'd place it right below your material app, atop of all your other widgets. and it would take over the theme and change all the colors to gray except one. It would make flashing red or something. And then you have a left arrow, right arrow that advances through the different names of the different things. And you can figure out, oh, this is the secondary light theme setting.
Right.
By the time, because that's the one that's actually blinking that area finally. Yeah. I want to make that as a dev tool. That would be a really cool dev
pretty
tool.
Good, actually.
Yeah, that'd be worth. Yeah.
In my spare time.
No,
put it midnight and 2.
Just cut your sleep back to like 1 hour a night, and then
I know. Yeah, 3 is already bad enough. All right.
So Nick says,
can you explain constraints? We have a really great article that you should read.
Yes.
I'm going to the link right now.
All right.
It's in Flutter.dev.
Yeah. I'm going to bring this up on stream, and I'll post it in the chat. Here's the link.
I presume they meant beyond that. I'm hoping they already read that. Now they're just still wanting an explanation. But
why it's not loading? Why are you not loading?
Why? I just loaded it on another.
We've slashed outed
Flutter.
Your internet. You've got a memory leak. You should troubleshoot that.
For some reason, it's only the Flutter site. It literally just got like a DNS error and then it loaded. Worked that one.
Oh, okay. Wow.
There you go. I'm back. So
there's Philippe.
So the explanation is right there on that screen. Constraints go down, sizes go up, and the parent sets the position. That's you can memorize that.
That is like the mantra that should be in your head.
Bible.
Every time you get a problem. And then what's really nice about this is this guide kind of walks you through lots of different examples of different layouts, how they work, how they get set, and there's tons and tons, and even like all those like conditions we were just talking about. Like here you go. Here's that common one I just said. You've got a bit of text in a container without expanded. Look, it overflows. Wait, what's going on here? That's because that needs to be wrapped and expanded. It's essentially unconstrained. You do it right, and you get this. Now it's expanded. Now you get it constrained correctly. So on.
Cool.
So you'll find that
take your time, read through it, understand it. That's
and you can always refer back to it. And another neat thing to do, I think for me at least, when I first started doing Flutter, was to wrap a widget in a layout builder, and then you print the constraints in the function, because it means that you kind of get to see what is the constraints actually given to this widget. And when they're wrong, you can go up the tree and go, where are they wrong? And maybe insert another layout builder and see what's going on there.
Or you see that in DevTools too. DevTools will show you exactly what the constraints are.
I'm talking about before DevTools.
Before DevTools.
Back when we didn't have list constructor stuff.
Before anybody even thought about
didn't have DevTools. Yeah.
Where I'm going to see if I can find it now. Was it actually just in the DevTools panel?
It's when you bring up DevTools, you have the widget tree on the left side, and then there's widget layout. And there's a tab button in the middle that says layout or details.
Do you have it open? Can you share it? We can maybe.
Yeah, let me see what I can do. Kind of curious.
It's in there because it's like the first screen that opens for me.
Yeah, it's the widget detail tree.
Layout Explorer. You got to click on a widget though. You only have a root widget apparently.
I think it's not. I think it's not working correctly.
Oh, great.
It's definitely. I mean, look, stateful widget child is definitely there, but it's just. Oh, there you go.
There it is. Now go back to layout.
Yeah,
you go back to Layout Explorer though. Click
the other tab.
The other tabs. That's broken.
And that's weird.
Choose. Where are we?
Choose something down.
All the way down. All the way down.
Yeah, but that should have all showed up on the left side. That should have showed up on the left side too.
I know. That's what I was thinking.
You broke it.
Can you click refresh on that one?
Well, he did, and it didn't change.
Oh, did he? I didn't see it. Okay.
Wow.
I could do I wonder if this is like
you broke it.
Select
there we go. Let's play Windows. Windows is always the problem.
So if I choose row and then click on layout,
Microsoft.
No, it's not working.
Yeah, you're not getting it. You should be getting it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It usually pops up right there, and it has a nice little layout and pictures and arrows, and you can click on things in there, and you can actually change them to see what the layout.
But this is telling you here.
It's really cool.
Basically, the constraint coming in, and then the size that it's actually measured to, and then you get like the detail in there. I remember, I'll be honest, I never use it. So
What I still wish was described better, and this is another rabbit hole, but I wish the document said whether the parent widget would prefer to shrink down the child widget or prefer the child widget expand to the parent widget, because it can work both ways, and it does work both ways at seemingly random throughout the layout widget set.
The problem
whether
here
it expands or it shrinks, it is not documented anywhere.
But it gets complicated because it can also depend on the constraints coming down.
Yeah, and the extra things that are also set. Like if it has a child widget, then it does this. If it doesn't have a child widget, it does that. So all these rules need to be in the docs. I shouldn't have to look at the source code, but also thank God I can look at the source code.
Right.
That helps.
All right, next.
Yeah, we got plenty of questions.
Can you talk about a few challenges you face while developing a Flutter application? Ooh.
Yes, chat rooms. No.
Keeping me from developing Flutter applications.
I'm trying to I mean, I can't think of any specific one thing now.
I mean, all the usual stuff, right? I mean, we run into the same problems that people keep asking stuff about, but I mean, you think they're asking like something that was extremely hard to implement, or
is there anything unique to Flutter?
Build?
Not really. I mean, you understand your tools, you understand your frameworks. You've got to know how to do debugging. You know how to do testing. You got to know how to call APIs. I mean, it's really the same regardless of whether it's Flutter or not. This is nothing. There's nothing unusual happening in Flutter that we really have to think about. Maybe cross-platform considerations, because it does typically come up for most other things. But
And I guess hot reload and hot restart are kind of like nearly unique things to Android. But I mean,
the right state management. We have to every language has some state management.
I guess I don't know if I've got any particular answer to this, so I think we'll carry on.
Yeah,
it's coding. Yeah, move on.
Can anyone from Pakistan join FlutterConf?
I don't know why it's a question.
Yeah, I don't either.
No.
They're not forbidden, are they?
No. A few Android phones were able to see images in gallery that were captured by Image Picker. We don't have any logic to save images in device internal storage. Why could this be happening?
So Henry, in a few Android phones, we're able to see images in the gallery that were captured by Image Picker. We don't have any logic
saving them.
So no, what happens is, so let me be clear. You're given so the way Android works with its files or images and so on is your app is given temporary access to them. If you want to maintain those images, you have to save them yourself. So when you get the result from Image Picker, you need to take that result and save it in your app's temporary cache storage. And you can get that with Path Provider. You can also just create like is it file.temp path or something like that, and make a little temporary directory and put them in there. Then you refer to that image path inside your app if you need to use it and maintain it for a longer time. But yeah, you don't get to see what's on the device's internal storage. You have to save it if you want to continue it. That's what you mean, like your SD card. Yep. You can ask for that permission, but it's kind of dodgy because it's like, would you give an app access to all of your photos and media and everything you have saved in your phone? Probably not.
Yeah.
So that's why we have such a thing like Image Picker, because the user's picking an image and saying, this app has been given rights to only this file. And it's only temporary for that session.
Yeah.
Right.
Next.
Is there any way to push a custom loader every time my web app builds? Because right now, every time I'm pushing it to publish in GitHub Pages, I have to manually update it. Is there a better way?
I'm not sure.
Custom loader. Isn't that just whatever's in your index index.html file in your repo?
I would.
Oh no! I know what he's talking about. I think I know what he's talking about. It's. I know what this is. So basically, Flutter and many other web apps use web workers, the background thing. And if you go onto, let's say you go onto Figma or one of these other things, it'll say, "Oh, there's an update when you're using the web app. There's an update right now." It's where they've pushed new code, and then the website's detected that there's an update to the service worker. So when you press the update button, it just restarts the page. It literally just does reload on the page. You can actually just standard web stuff. So there's actually you can use the Dart HTML package to access the workers and see if there's an update. And you can actually have a stream from that. So when an update it happens inside the browser, your Flutter app gets told, and you can present the user with an update, or you can automatically just do window.reload, and it will reload the page. I think there were some packages for that now, but don't quote me on that. I'm not going to go looking right now, but you can do that, and you can have it automatically. So when updates are pushed, it does refresh the page. Yeah. That's what I'd say.
All right.
It does automatically refresh as well. It's just it times out the content, takes time to refresh in your cache, basically. Right.
Okay.
Is there any documentation for making Flutter app as a white label app? I don't know that I've seen anything specific.
I mean, do you need a documentation for this? And you're just building an app, and then like if you're trying to build like a white label product, then you're going to be giving it different logos or different assets or different things, and you can either feed it in as part of your build process, or you can make different top level packages that all inherit from the same like app package, and then you just give like a different bit of Dart code that contains different assets. Think about how you would just white label an app and just do it.
Yeah,
It's simple, but
pull out what needs to be customized per implementation and make it customizable. That's it. I mean,
I was thinking one thing you could do is if you're basically building from a templated set of stuff where you have a lot of things you're plugging values in to make your white label brand, you could make a Mason brick out of that. And then you could spit it out and go, fill out the form on the Mason brick launch, which says name of site, coloring scheme, like all that. And then it would generate a whole repo for that particular app.
It does mean that you can't obviously easily update that, right? You would have to go.
No. That's a one-way thing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You're gone. Goodbye.
Yep.
Right, if you get one.
What new feature or change do you wish the Flutter team should introduce in the next major release?
Chat GPT built in. We had to talk about it at least once in this show. It's every show, every week. I know.
You nearly finished the entire stream.
Almost.
The thing is, I felt this the other day. Because I've been using Flutter for so long, any of the problems or issues that I'm having, I work around them because I'm just doing it. But they're still there, and I wish they would be fixed, but I can't place them. Something that happened the other day, for example, was that a lot of it was in IntelliJ plugin. Actually, it was like remove widget only comes up if if the child widget has a child parameter. So, for example, on Scaffold, you can't do remove widget because its parameter name is body. If you rename body to child, even though there's an error, you can then, when you write to the hotfix, it pops up remove widget. It's a simple little thing, and I use it every day. And these are kind of little things for me that would make life easier by just getting rid of those problems. And things like wrap with layout builder should be on that menu. Wrap with we have stream builder. Why don't we have future builder? Right? That's also used quite often.
Yeah.
It's whatever they decided.
Little things like that.
That all comes from the analyzer. So those are analyzer bugs. Do not file those against VS Code extension and against IntelliJ extension. file those against the analyzer, because that's where those suggestions come from.
The annoying thing is it's all open source, so I'm complaining, but then I can go fix it if I you know, and everyone gets
if you wanted to take the time to do it.
Fine.
If you wanted to understand how the analyzer works and how the rewrite rules work, have fun. But you'll need to know that if you ever make builder stuff, or if you ever make the new macro stuff that we're going to have.
What was Remy's package?
A custom lint. Custom lint.
Custom lint. That's it. That's quite good.
Yeah, that one goes deep into that stuff. And we found some errors overnight. Remy and I were talking about there's an error with the RiverPod lint that it's not showing. You know how when you normally have a lint, it shows a light bulb that says just ignore this lint.
Your options,
right. It doesn't do, as of like a couple days ago, it doesn't do that on RiverPod lint, but only RiverPod lint, which means it's a problem with custom lints. And Remy goes, yeah, I think I know what they're doing wrong. So it's like, oh, well, fix it. Fix it. Somebody fix it, please.
Can we take a full widget, list view builder, a custom scroll view, screenshot with repaint boundary?
I know what he's saying. He's basically saying it's content that's scrolled off the screen. Can we take a full screenshot
of the whole screen? Yeah.
No.
And the answer is no, because they don't exist.
Right.
So list view builder and custom scroll view, they're slivers, and it builds the stuff as it comes in ready for the screen. So when you do repaint boundary, no, you can't. However, you can use an off screen with a repaint boundary and a column, and put all the stuff that would be in your builder in a column. But then you're having to build every widget. So if you've got 1,000 widgets, now you're building every widget to get a picture of it. It's going to get expensive.
Yeah. Off stage.
Sorry, not off stage. Yeah. And just be careful. There's other. Or is it visibility?
Don't build an infinite list. It'll take an infinite amount of time.
Well, this is it. You can do that, right?
You will run out of non-infinite
an infinite number of buses will show up at your infinite roomed hotel while you're trying to compute the infinite size list.
Yeah, and then you want to add infinite to infinite.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Which approach is the most practical to start with a white label project?
Well, is that the same person?
Yeah, no, I think it was a different, but
I think we just answered that.
Yeah, I mean, you can either, there's two ways, right? You build the app and then you go back and rip out all the stuff that can be customized, or you start with some way of customizing, and everything that you think might be customized, you put in that way. If it's in a config file or something.
What you can do is you can have so make a directory in your repo. You have multiple packages, multiple folders, and you can actually have your common stuff that all the projects use in one. And then all the other, each of the individual example white label products that you're building, make some example ones, all use that package or depend on it, and use what's called a path dependency. You path .. and then the package name. That is all in the PubSpec YAML documentation. I'll quickly find the link to that. If I can find it, it says yep, here's the dependency documentation. It's in the chat. That is that lists in there path dependencies, git dependencies, all these kind of different ways of. You don't have to use pub.dev for your dependencies, basically.
Yeah.
All right, next.
Exactly.
Best approach to caching data from a backend on a Flutter app.
It depends on what you're doing. I mean, essentially, it all comes down to storing it on the disk so that it's there. You can cache it in memory. So you've got two types of cache. You've got memory cache, you've got disk cache. I'm sure there's plenty of others, but you get my point. Like, they're your two major ones. In memory cache, you stick it in a list or a map or some other in-memory representation. A lovely one is an LRU cache, which you can get from the Quiver library. And that allows you, so that's called least recently used. In other words, the more you fetch the stuff from the cache, they get moved up to the top of the list. And the ones that, as you add stuff, get moved to the bottom of the list, get garbage collected and removed. So basically, all the stuff the user is using sticks around, and it's just magically done for you. So that's called an LRU cache. Frankly, I think that should be something that's built into Dart and Flutter. Is that useful?
There's one in collections, I think.
Collections as well. Okay.
Yeah. I think collections is one of those cool packages that is first party. It's done by the people in Mountain View, but it's really cool stuff that's just not part of the core.
you have like first party and third party. Why isn't there a second party? What is a second party?
That'd be the user installing it. How is that going to happen? Like a plugin.
I don't know. Like, I just like think of it. Like you always say, a first party.
I know.
Third party.
Yeah, I know. I get it. Right.
Yeah.
Or fourth party. I've used fourth party occasionally. I can't remember why I was saying that. It was something about needing to distinguish. This isn't a third party solution. It's something that they're pulling in or something, I guess. Yeah.
I can't find least recently used or LRU in the collection library.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering then. It's possible.
So let me just...
My answer in the chat, by the way, for this was Riverpod. Because if you're going to use something like a Riverpod provider to go out to hit an API, you can tell it to keep things around for a set amount of time or be part of an LRU cache or something. So it can actually have policies based on that. Those aren't built in, but the hooks to do that are built in to Riverpod for that sort of thing.
Also things like if you're running DO HTTP cache.
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the data and what you want to do, how long you want to keep it around, and all that sort of fun stuff. It's just...
So Quiver has been a utility library that's been around for since like the very beginning of Dart. It's been around a long, long time. Even though we're on 3.2, and you can see Quiver Async, Quiver Cache, Quiver Check. There's a bunch of other very similar kind of things that you might use all the time. And inside here, you shall find LRU cache, LRU map. That's the one, LRU map. Linked LRU hash map. But yeah, basically this, and it's least recently used the algorithm.
Yep.
And Quiver is first party, as you just saw. That was done by the Google team.
Yep.
On the front page, you can see that. Yeah. Cool.
Well, look, loader.
Quiver cache.
Map cache.
Semi-persistent. Ooh.
But this is all in. So to be clear, this is all in memory. If you want something more consistent, then you probably want a database. ISAR is my go-to. And I'll pop
shared preferences. Shared preferences are simple.
Shared preferences,
if you want to shoot in the face, use shared preferences. So sorry. So let me be clear. Shared preferences in Android store the result as an XML file on your disk. So what happens is you take a string, you take your object, you convert it to JSON, you put that in a string. That string is sent across to the platform Android handler. That is then scheduled to be written to disk in an XML file. And then when you leave your activity, then it's written to disk in an XML file. And it's just like all this stuff when you can literally in Dart write your JSON straight to a file, and you didn't have to do any stuff. No movement of data, no nothing. It's just take a JSON, stick it in the file. Super simple.
At least it's not XML inside XML, as I had for one client one year. Oh my God.
I've seen that.
That was soap over XML, which is even worse. High protocols.
So what's nice about ISAR is think of it as almost like SQLite on steroids. You get some sort of nice built-in features like full text search and sort of some of the sort of multi-platform asynchronous side of it. It's really, really nice and really feature-rich. You can see that JSON support inbuilt. Like it's just point and click basically. It's really good package to if you need to store like a cache or something to disk and have it locally accessible. That's kind of a nice way of doing it. As I said though, if you've got something like an LRU map, you just literally query it for the contents, convert it to JSON, and stick it in a file. It's like 2 lines, right? Yep. So
when you said SQLite on steroids, I immediately went, "Oh, that's like jumbo shrimp." The little T thing made huge. What?
All right.
I'm gonna go take a nap right after this.
I just read about Dart Frog, and my question: how scalable will it be for backend?
How scalable?
I've not used Dart Frog.
I don't know. Do they have scales?
I'm afraid none of us has used Dart Frog. However, I know Felix would love to answer your question on Twitch.
He's not here.
On Twitter.
Maybe on Twitch too.
So the question really about how scalable backend is more about the cloud provider and how you set it up. So you can have one instance of your HTTP server, and each request that comes in, it basically blocks the next request from being processed. Now you can also spin up an isolate, use isolate.run, so that each request that comes in generates an isolate and runs its response and returns the response from the isolate. That way, now you can handle multiple requests. You obviously put a limit on that. That's all. You can do that with Shelf. I don't know if that's how Dart Frog works, but also that's just one bit of scalability. But you can only scale to enough that the server that you're running your backend on can manage. So maybe 100 requests a second. I don't know, like what that kind of depends on so many factors. But you scale really by starting more servers. So on Cloud Run, you can set your scalability to like 1 to 10, and it will start 10 as you need more requests to be handled. It will spin up more servers. Normally, it's done on CPU level or number of requests, all sorts of things. But yeah, that's just scaling your server, and that's how you configure that in your cloud provider normally.
The trickiest part of that is session affinity. If you think you need to have the next request coming from the same person go to the same server, managing that can be interesting.
And there's a tick box in GCP that just does that and does it for you.
Yep.
Cool. Well, there we go. Solve it all.
I mentioned that. Yeah. So session affinity is basically so make sure that each the clients, the same client goes to the same server all the time where possible. That way you don't have local state in memory spread across multiple servers, which can be handy in certain situations. To be honest, you kind of want your request to be stateless, and that is the JWT token that you hand in the request contains all the parameters needed to process that request in terms of like all sorts of information. I won't go into it. And then your server goes off to a database or something. And that way you can shut them down, spin them up, and you don't lose anyone's temporary state. And that's it. That was the last question in our queue.
Oh.
Yay.
Yay. So our short show ended up only being a half hour over what we normally plan.
It's pretty good though. I think people enjoy it.
I don't think we're doing any live coding now. Let's not do live coding now. I think we're gonna have to call that and do
that's it. That we did the live coding during the stream.
We did it.
Oh, we did. Okay. All right. So we can check that box off and possibly some live coding of interesting stuff. Yeah. Right. Always. John, thanks once again for stopping by and providing your insights and letting me not have to talk all the time. Simon's not talking, which is never. So that's good.
I got
Simon, do you ever breathe? Do you ever breathe when you're talking? I don't understand how you do that.
No, I don't.
Circular breathing. He's breathing through the nose while he's talking out of his mouth.
Both sides of his mouth.
The gills come out or something.
Yeah, gills. Awesome.
You're a lizard person.
So please come back next week. If you didn't get to your question, there was a couple that came in late. I had to tell them, come back in 165 hours, get early in line, get your question in, and then we'll be sure to answer it as first questions next week. If you come back in 165 hours from now, we don't have a short week early. It's all normal now.
Yeah.
Back on normal times.
Yeah, we actually show up about 20. I show up about 20 to 30 minutes before the show, so I'll see questions that come in even that early. So don't worry if you're a couple 20 minutes early. Just start typing Q : and fill up our queue for us. That would be really helpful because then we can start right away with questions. All good.
Cool. Thank you everyone for joining us, and we'll see you again next week.
See you all next week.
Bye.